The beauty of a dual offer is typically sellers are either money motivated or time motivated. In auctions, people just want something gone and as a result tend to take less of a value for that particular property. If you see a house on the market that's been on the market for a year or longer, they're typically money motivated people and have the patience and the time to get the right value. The more you know about a seller, the better. In sales, you're always trying to find out as much information as you can. Then speaking their language, which is sort of tip 2, and then 3, make sure the offer, it doesn't overcomplicate something that could be a bit more straightforward. Sometimes less words is more. You've got a reputation as a really good creative deal maker. Thank you very much, Ed. When I go to speak to vendors, I say, if you want a fast unconditional cash offer, then this is the best we can do. But I'd love to speak to you about how we can improve our cash offer by adjusting some terms and conditions. And to do that, I need to know how I can help you. What's your pain point? I would like to try and work with you to find a win-win solution. So very clear, we actually do dual offers like this, Ed. So very, very common practice for us. He then goes on to say, they tend to look at me with cold eyes. Do you mind sharing your thoughts on the subject, or even some sort of innate script to get them to see where we're trying to basically create a deal? Yeah, so my role in all of the businesses is deal making, so acquisitions and getting the deal pulled together. I love creating the deals. I feel that it's very much an art and a science put together. Essentially, have always had in all of our businesses a dual offer process. And a dual offer, for everyone listening, is where you typically have an unconditional, faster transaction that's of a lower value, or a prolonged duration that might be subject to planning, it might be subject to condition, it might be subject to striking a lease. And the beauty of a dual offer is typically sellers are either money motivated or time motivated. So to put that into context, an auction is a perfect example. So in auctions, people just want something gone and as a result tend to take less of a value for that particular property. If you see a house on the market that's been on the market for a year or longer, they're typically money motivated people and have the patience and the time to get the right value. One thing I would say, and first and foremost, is the more you know about a seller, the better. In sales, you're always trying to find out as much information as you can. You've alluded to this by opening broad and open questions. But one thing that is a commonly misconception sometimes is we're in this day to day and we're doing deals day in, day out. And I actually say to a chap in my acquisitions team, I love the creativity, but sometimes you're being over complex to the person and the audience that you're communicating with. So that's one really key thing there. You're trying to get as much information out of them as possible, but you don't want to overcomplicate things, because sometimes complexity or not understanding the questions you're asking, like what's your pain point, you might want to word that slightly differently and more openly. So I like to ask questions such as, what is important for you? How quickly would you like this done? Is there a reason that you would like it done this quickly? Basically, every conversation and Q&A that you do, you typically ask really open questions. If you understand the motivations, and that's a really important word to take on board, that's really important. The way that we do it and communicate that is we basically fact find and just talk, and you've got to try and allow them to also feel like they're controlling the conversation and go down the rabbit holes and the tangents that they think's important, and to understand. And also one really important thing, I'm quite commercial and black and white, but when you're dealing with a vendor, you have to go into the grey areas and also ensure that they can see you are acknowledging the strong points for them. So the way that we typically do it is fairly straightforward. We typically say, this is the sort of price that we could pay if you just want to get the deal done, and we take on the risk of the planning or trying to buy the neighbour's plot or as well, or whatever it may be, and identify that and say that there is a risk attached for us, the unconditional bid, and that is why it is at that level.
Sorry to interrupt. If you're new here, this video has probably been pulled from one of our live video broadcasts where we show insights into our 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses. We're live every week showing the inner workings of our business, sharing tips, templates, and strategies that you can take away and use in your own business to help you grow and be more profitable. If you've not checked it out yet, head over to the live section on our YouTube channel where you can see all of the back catalog of videos where we cover everything that you need to be a successful entrepreneur and a property developer. Back to the video.
I actually typically also say you might get more for your property if you went to the open market or went to someone else or went to a family or whatever it may be, but we're purely based on commercial and making a commercial decision, and that is the best value that we can get to. So try and, for us, remove a bit of the emotion, because what you don't want them to think is you're just a greedy, bid in the ribs kind of guy. You're actually, there's numbers behind it, and that is why you've got to those figures. And I always detail and elaborate how much work has gone into getting to that figure, rather than it feeling like you're chipping the price for the sake of it. So that's your unconditional bid. Now, sometimes it's difficult to put an unconditional bid forward as a developer if it is a lot lower than what they're expecting. And what we then typically do is something called a soft offer. So we don't actually put a line in the sand. Let's say someone wants £500,000 for a house and you're going to go in at 400. I would typically put in a soft offer just to sort of test the water. And that would be something along the lines of, we've worked and pulled it apart and our technical team have done so much work on this and we really can't get near the guide price. We're quite a far way off it. So it would be really good to understand from you how much flexibility there is. If they say, we're not going to go lower than 475, you know that you are going to upset them if you put 400 forward, in which case, you know they're money motivated. So I'd push a lot harder on the condition part of the offer. Now moving towards the conditional part, as I mentioned, it could be conditional to anything. What I would highly recommend is the timeframes and the difference between what the conditional offer and unconditional offer is directly driven by their requirements. You may say to them, okay, I think I can pay you more. I think I can pay you guide price, but I do need some time to de-risk the planning or to do this. What sort of timeframes are you looking for? Rather than just in your own internal or in your business coming up with a potential time frame, communicate that with them and say, what's important for you? Obviously, you want as long as possible. And I would say I would highly recommend that it's sometimes easier to agree a shorter period with an extension than go in for 24 months or 36 months, or whatever it may be. So to put that in a sort of a script for you, Ed, don't put the unconditional offer forward until you sort of kind of floated the idea as a soft offer with the vendor. Once you've done that and you feel like it would be semi-welcome and it's an offer and you know they may consider it, we would typically try and put as much context behind it. So looking at the site and its constraints and its risks, this is where we're at unconditionally. We understand that that might be a little bit less than your expectations, but we can get in. We're not part of a chain. There's no particular conditions attached to the offer other than potentially searches and surveys, and maybe there may be a small condition. But equally, if you're willing to wait, we can put in a conditional offer where we can actually pay you more. So it's kind of up to you which way we go. Just try and speak their language. Depending on who you're dealing with, your seller, it's kind of like read the room and try and like communicate with them on a level where they can understand. We've had vendors that are we bought off developers, right? So they get it. The way that you communicate with a developer is very different to a grandma that's selling her orchard and she doesn't really understand all the property jargon. You've kind of got to go to the level where they can consume information and agree a deal with you. And that's probably the biggest takeaway from this. But I don't think anything that you said is necessarily wrong or what we wouldn't do. So I think you're on the same sort of wavelength, really. But for me, it's all about fact finding, finding out as much information as possible, then speaking their language, which is sort of tip 2, and then 3, make sure the offer, it doesn't overcomplicate something that could be a bit more straightforward. Sometimes less words is more. Sometimes you don't have to declare every fine detail in an offer. For an example, I see a lot of people say, I would like to buy your garden for 1 million quid subject to planning for 6 houses, and then if we get 5 we'll do X, if we get 4 we'll do Y. And that might be too complicated for a Joe Blogs, and you may be better off just to say, we'd love to buy your property for X, for £1 million subject to planning, and that's it for residential planning. Try not to overcomplicate things. That will come further down the line, and then what we would recommend you do is go into heads of terms so that both you and the seller are on the same page with what's going on. Hopefully that's answered your question. If anyone actually wants to see our offer template, we can share that. Just comment offer letter and we can of course send that out to you guys.
If you got value from this video, make sure you click the subscribe button down below and ring the notification bell, because we release one video at least every week, so be the first to get notified. See you on the next one.